Hello, hello, hello. Good to see everybody this evening. Hey, Linda, you number one in here, girlfriend. Yes, you are. There we go. Hello, PG. Hello, hello, hello to you, sweetie. Good to see you. God bless. And let's see, Karen, number two. All right. Hey, smiley face. There we go. God bless. And Mrs. Mama 3, how you doing? Good to see you. Absolutely. Number 3 in here tonight, girlfriend. I appreciate that. Aw, hey, PG and little man. Much love. Much love to you. You know it. And let's see who is number 4. Brat Brat. All right. Good evening, PG. How is little man doing? Much love. God bless. Much love for Summer Moon, Utah Wells, and many prayers. Amen. Hey, I appreciate that, girl. And you were number 4. Hey, mom of 3. I seen that. I seen that when I came in. I was like, wow, that's beautiful. I appreciate it. God bless. And let's see who else is in here. And moving down. All right, there's Miss Justice. She's up there at the top. She's up there at the top. God bless. Hey, good to see you, girlfriend. Absolutely. And Shy, how you doing tonight? Leslie, how you doing? Let's get on down through here. Hey, Kylie, how you doing? There's Linda. Robin, how you doing, sweetie? Oh, I appreciate that. I really do, Miss Justice. God bless. Absolutely, absolutely, Brat Brat. I appreciate it. Let me keep moving. Hey, Teddy, how you doing? Good to see you. Good evening, Prayer Garden. Let's find that beautiful little princess. Let's get justice for her. Amen. Absolutely, absolutely. Hey, Lynn, how you doing? Roche House, how you doing, sweetie? Wonder Woman, Patty Ponytail. Good to see everybody. Oh, I love StreamYard. They got this new feature. Anytime you click on something, it shows you it's been clicked on, which is beautiful, beautiful. So you don't click on it twice. That's a great feature. Hey Anna, how you doing, sweetie? How you doing? Hey PG, much love to you and yours. God bless. Good to see you. Absolutely. Let's see who else is in here. Hey Kay, how you doing? Bridget, good to see you, sweetie. Lisa says, Brat Brag, good to see you. Hey, beautiful. Let me see. Hey, Abigail, how you doing, sweetie? Dartmouth, oh, purple hearts for summer. Amen. Karen, love it, love it. Hey, C, how you doing, Italian Cookie? C, back to Italian Cookie. Tracy, how you doing? Let me see. Oh, that is beautiful. Absolutely beautiful, Anna. I appreciate that. All right, PG's at the bottom. Finally made it to the bottom. I hope I didn't miss anybody. Hope I did not miss anybody. Aw, Karen said it's time for some real answers. Someone please come forward. Amen. That's what I'm talking about. That's what I'm talking about. Someone knows something, and someone off that hill, someone off the hill knows something, right? And that's, who we're going to have to depend on. I think, in my opinion, we're going to have to, depend on someone around the case, not in the case, on the hill right there. Don, Candace, and Grandis, they wouldn't have did it. They wouldn't have did it if they were, willing to go to prison. They wouldn't have, they wouldn't have did did something evil as this and covered it up, in my opinion. But and it's my opinion they did it. But the people off the hill, the people who, have information about June 15, 2021, knows exactly what went down and, had a hand in covering it up. I don't think they initially did anything to destroy this little girl. I don't believe that. I don't believe that they knew how severely abused those children were by Don and Candace. I think they just thought, it was an accident. They were helping to cover up an accident and feeling sorry for somebody that, made up a story that they lost a child in a way that, they didn't mean to, but would get in trouble for. That's my opinion. But now I think people have seen substantiated truth that proves, without a shadow of a doubt, what was going on up there where these children are concerned. I think without a shadow of a doubt, the people surrounding the case that may have helped cover something up has a full view of they got lied to. They got gaslighted, they got smoke screened. They got freaking used and abused as well, based off of a lie. And to help with the little girl that deserved more than justice, right? This little girl deserved more than justice against these evil bastards that could do such evil stuff to little children. That's my opinion. I'm going to keep it. I'm just sick and I'm tired of seeing all these parents, using and abusing and destroying innocent children in this world. I'm tired of seeing people corrupt innocent children's minds. It's disgusting. It's disgusting. These people, they have no morals, right? They have no morals. They have no self-respect. I mean, you can't have no respect for yourself if you're corrupting your children's minds by, allowing or putting up with them using foul language. Children don't know foul language unless they hear it. Children don't know about adult topics unless, some sick, evil-minded adult, instills it in a child. It's all evil. In my opinion, every last bit of it is evil. I mean, why does people want to corrupt? Why do they want to corrupt children? Why don't they just let children be children? Why can't these sick, demented adults keep their hands to their freaking selves, keep their freaking warped fucking mental thoughts to their self, and leave children the hell alone? Children cannot process this kind of stuff because God didn't mean for children to process this kind of information. God meant for children to be exactly what children are. Innocent, God-fearing. Children love everybody, not somebody. Children only only know what they're taught. And people are teaching them, you know, to go in an evil way. And it's sickening. It's sickening. You know, why are you going to corrupt a child? Why, why do people want to do that? Why do people, it's, it's terrible. It's terrible that we have, a lot of people out there corrupting children's minds. As I said, with foul language, they teach them to hate on people, that shouldn't be hated on. They instill ugly, evil stuff into kids because they want kids to be like them, right? They don't like, pizza, so they don't want their kids to like pizza. They don't like a certain, they don't like either, the right wing or the left wing, so they don't want their child to like it as well. Your child's not you. Your child has its own mind, its own thoughts, and it should be respected. Let them grow up. Let them be a child and let them grow up and make their own decisions on what they want and they like and they care about. They don't have to be the parents. They don't have to be everything, the parents want. And, and that messes up a lot of kids' minds. It messes up a lot of, it messes up the life a child could have if these evil people weren't so ugly, hateful, and violent, trying to instill all of that into our, into our children. There's no need for it. Why don't you just let kids be kids? Because kids get on a playground. You take a big class of kindergartners and you put them on a playground. They all play together great. I mean, they all like each other. They all, they're all willing to play one game together. These kids will all join hands and play one game together. And they'll help each other out to win and succeed. And they really like each other. But by the time these kids are in the 3rd, 4th, 5th grade, well, they don't like each other because of this or because of that, or, and this is stuff that's instilled in them. It's instilled in them. I can't play with you because of this, and I can't, I don't like you because of that. And they're just all the kindness and caring and love and innocence is taken out of them. It's taken out of them too fast. Because people want to instill their values, their hateful, ugly, disgusting values in our children. And we shouldn't tolerate it. We shouldn't tolerate it. There's only one reason. There's only one reason why your child should not be playing with other children. And that's if that child has parents instilling hateful, ugly values in their child that might be instilled in your child if you allow your child to be around them. You need to protect your child at all costs. As Ernie Shell would say, protect your child at all costs. That's true. And they also want adult topics in a school. They want it not high school. They want it in K through 12. Adult topics. I don't think that's acceptable. That's my opinion. I'm not afraid to talk about it. I'm not afraid to call it out. It's bullshit. It's bullshit. I don't want no adult topics being taught to any of my kids. I want my kids to be children. They only get to be kids for a little while. I want them to be kids. I want them to enjoy being children. I want them to be carefree, no worries. They don't have to worry about bills. They don't have to worry about where food's coming from, their clothes are coming from. They don't need to worry about anything. All they need to worry about is being a kid. That's it. That's what it should be. But you're not allowed to be that way anymore. But it's even worse when we have people using and abusing and destroying our children, our future generations. There was just another big headline about some foster parents took in 5 children. Put a 1 in the chat if anybody else seen that. Took in 5 children, destroyed them, destroyed the children. They are mentally destroyed for life. We had 2 children taken in by foster parents who are mentally destroyed for life. We had another one taken in. Well, that one didn't make it. That baby didn't make it. But every one of these, the 5, the 2, the 1, all were given to same sex partners, right? They were given to 2 men. 2 men. 2 men destroyed 5, 2 men destroyed 2, 2 men destroyed 1. The baby didn't even make it. When is this country going to get back to normalcy? Is it going to get back to normalcy? Because let me tell you something. You go back to the 30s, you go back to the 40s, you go back to the 50s, you can go back to the 60s, you can go back to the 70s, you can go back to the 80s, and that shit wouldn't have been tolerated. That shit wouldn't have been tolerated at all. You would have had a ton of protesters standing up for them children and making it illegal for people like that to adopt children anymore, because there's 3 cases in a row and we don't want any more happening. You'd have had people lined up and all over the place shutting that shit down. Shutting it down. But you don't have anybody standing up anymore for anything because they're all hiding inside their houses, communicating through this stupid freaking box that we're talking through right now, instead of being out there in the world, standing up and doing what's right in the sight of God Almighty. Now the Bible says the fearful will not go to heaven. Well, the fearful is the people too afraid to go out there and stand up for what's right in the sight of God. They're too fearful to stand up for what they know is right because they might offend somebody. I don't give a fuck who I offend. Righteous is righteous and evil is evil. You got to be on one side or the other. You cannot be lukewarm. You cannot make excuses as to why you wasn't standing up for what you knew was wrong. I don't give a damn who you offend. And people shouldn't give a damn who they offend. No one should care who they offend when they're standing with God, when they're standing for righteousness. Because I'm going to tell you what, it's better to stand with God and stand alone than it is in a damn crowd of evilness that at some point is going to be spewed into hell. I don't think I want to be in that crowd just because I might offend somebody. Be offended. Be offended. Because I'm going to tell you something. Those 5 children were very offended. Offended so bad that they won't ever be able to live a normal life again. Those 2 boys will not ever be able to live a righteous life again. That one baby, well, it don't have a life to live because it got took in a very violent way, a very disgusting, violent way. When are we going to start standing up? When are we going to start backing the law again? When are we going to let the law start doing what needs to be done? Our court systems do what needs to be done. And if they ain't doing it, we start holding up the signs. We start getting together. We start having our peaceful protest until we get what we want. Because them evil fucking people, that's exactly what they do. They're the ones out there protesting for pure fucking evilness, and they're getting it. While everybody righteous is hiding away somewhere, just watching, afraid to stand up. Well, that fear is going to get you put in hell. Trust and believe me. And baby, it comes first. It comes first. It says, number 1, the fearful. The fearful. That's because God is saying, you are too afraid to stand up for me and to stand up for my righteousness. You are too afraid to stand up and put that evil in its place, back in the damn dark where it belongs. Instead of you overtaking it, you allowed it to overtake you because you were a coward. Just saying. I mean, nobody's obligated to listen, but I'm obligated to tell you. God's children, that's one of our jobs, is to have to tell you. And it's to warn you. It's just to warn you. It's to warn you, to let you know that if you want to get to heaven, getting up and turning right means standing up against evilness. It means putting it down instead of letting it put you down. It means running it off instead of letting it run you off. They don't give a fuck who they offend. Why do we give a fuck if we offend them? That's my question. That's my question. Sherry, I hope that was your intentions. I hope that was your true intention, was to, I hope you were telling the truth because you put WV welfare. Then you said you heard it somewhere. Then you told somebody that they would have to call Candace to understand it. Then you said that it was about her health, as if you were trying to backpedal on everything said at the beginning. I don't know. I don't know the truth. You do. I just know what I saw. And it hurt West Virginia butterflies feelings very much hurt her feelings. And I don't know if she'll come back out here or not. At this point, I don't know if she'll come back or she won't. I mean, that's up to her. I don't, I'm not putting no pressure to nobody to be out here. I know how, rigorous it is to be out here and doing what we do. It's not an easy thing to do. It's hard. What we do is very hard. We get a lot of hatred. People come at you sideways and make up a ton of lies. Because see, the devil thinks the reason evil people lie on people is because, the devil believes that if they plant a seed in someone's head, whether it's true or not, if they plant the seed, it's going to grow. It's going to grow and it's going to cause conflict. And that's what evil people do. Evil people, like to cause conflict. And if we're if God's children are stupid enough to lie them, well, that's what happens. I'm not stupid. I know there's two sides to every story. I want to get both sides before I go judging. I have lived long enough to know that 95% of the time, the person someone is trying to get you to hate is a better fucking person than the one you're talking to. And if you really wanted a good friend, you'd be friends with the person they're trying to get you to hate instead of them. Because if they're trying to get you to hate someone else, it's just a matter of time. They're going to get people to hate you. Because that's the role that they're on. That's their MO. That's how they are. And it won't take long. Somebody comes talking bad to me about someone, I figured without reason. I feel that, they're worse than the person they're talking about. And, and I might as well just pick a fucking number and stand in line because it ain't going to be long. My number's going to be up and they're going to be talking about my ass the same way they was somebody else, and I've tested that water and it always seems to be true, right? It always seems to be true. Who got blocked? Who got blocked? Oh yeah, Aunt Sherry. The word welfare has many meanings, but I mean, I would think instead of using welfare, you would have used, well health or, something in that realm of communication. Who got blocked? I don't think Sherry meant any harm. I think she just heard it, thought it was funny. I think it's something Candace and Donald made up, West Virginia Welfare instead of West Virginia Butterfly. And I think it's just something she heard and thought was funny, and she couldn't help but saying it, and it just, you know, it just hurt somebody's feelings. And I don't think she meant it. I think she just thought it was funny. That's my opinion. Oh, okay. Mm, I don't know. Sherry's real affiliated. Sherry's real affiliated with Day Day and Jinkies and that group of people, right? I don't know what that other guy's name is. There's some other guy that has a YouTube channel, and it's pretty vulgar, pretty, it's like a super hate channel, and people gather up there too, and it's just, I mean, they talk for 3 hours, and nobody learned a fucking thing, right? Nobody learned shit. There was no wisdom. There was no wisdom to, or real knowledge to be gained from listening to them. If there's no real wisdom or knowledge to be gained, nothing for you to be able to take home, you know, um, well, it was a waste of time, in my opinion. That's my opinion. Um, they just wasted, you know, 2, 3 hours of your life you're not ever going to get back, right? And look, I could have watched a good movie. I could have, I could have got some things out of the way that needs to be gotten out of the way, right? Shit that I've been putting on the back burner, going to do later. I could have been doing all of that instead of, instead of, you know, learning nothing. Just, sit there and listen to people, you know, ignorant human beings talk about, fucking nothing. Hell, if I want to listen to that, if I want to listen to that shit, um, I just I just take a trip down to the hood, right? I just go down to the hood and stand around, just stand around at, freaking a carry out or something. I mean, that's all, that's all you do here all day long, right? All day long. In the hood, at the carry outs, all you hear is a bunch of shit that was so uneducational that you can't believe it. You're just sitting there, in awe that these grown ass adults could actually talk that long and say nothing, and say absolutely nothing. And what's really weird is what they were saying seemed to make sense to everybody else listening, except people like us who were educated. everybody else seemed to, think it was funny, which I ain't gonna lie. I think some of it's funny. But I'm gonna tell you, those people are happy. They're like happy. For real. They're happy. They have full-blown conversations that don't say a damn thing, and some reason are happy. I'm like, damn, I wish I could be stupid again. Right? Because I have to admit, when I was stupid, I was happier. Like, I didn't know better not to be happy. Right? It's when you go and get all educated and shit, and start thinking about stuff and sorting things out, you become too responsible. And it ain't no fun in responsibility, right? People do need to take responsibility for their actions. I'm going to tell you something. There is such thing in this world as normal and abnormal. Now we know the difference between normal and abnormal. And if humans are fucking normal, like they don't think normally, they're not doing things normally. They're not on the normal path. They're on that abnormal. Why the hell would you give kids to people that are abnormal? Why would you allow people to adopt children that are fucking abnormal in the first place? Why would you do that? I don't know. There's a whole lot of normal people on the list, a whole lot of normal people waiting to adopt children. Why would they give them to abnormal human beings? And I'll tell you another thing that I'm sick of in this country. I'm sick of this country, always making provisions and giving to, this group or that group just because it's this group or that group. Give it to the people who's got the fucking credentials. Stop just giving it because you need to make certain groups happy. You need to cater more. You're being pressured to cater more to certain groups. Stop it. This ain't a country where anyone should be pressured to cater to any fucking thing. This is a country where everyone should be treated equally. And it should be first come, first served, right? That's my opinion. I mean, a job shouldn't be given to people just because they need to be catered to. They should be given because they meet the qualifications, right? That's my opinion. Right? Hey, Grandis belongs to Molly. Grandis belongs to Molly, Karen. We can't forget that. That's Molly's main squeeze right there. CM, is that the organization that is that the organization that is for undocumented the undocumented humans in our country? Is that the organization that, like over in Arkansas, when Don and Candace was over there at that hotel, there's an organization that there is an organization that exists for undocumented um, aliens in our country. I don't know why they call these people aliens. Like aliens is people come down from outer space in a spaceship, right? I don't know why they call them aliens. Don't make no sense to me. I mean, it kind of gets you confused. When people say you got aliens in your country, you're thinking, you're thinking about that. Why don't they get in their flying saucer and leave? They're undocumented humans. They came into the country, right, Mrs. Mrs. Mama 3. You know, why don't they're human beings that's just trying to get out of a bad situation, looking for a better one, and and try to come in and get freedom, try to come in here and get freedom in America. And it's true, they should try to come, they should try to come in here the right way, because when they come in illegally, it causes a lot of stuff to be brought into our country that it's very dangerous. It subjects all Americans, it subjects every American, in danger, because there's stuff in other countries that ain't in America. And if the people come over here, they come into our country and they're not, they don't have the health checks and everything, and they pack something into our country, it could basically destroy thousands and thousands and thousands of, American taxpayers. And, and that ain't right. That ain't right. So, everyone had to come into America legally, when America was established. You weren't allowed to come in here illegally. You had to come in legally, and you had to go through, the medical exam and everything. And a lot of people were put back on the boat because they were packing diseases and stuff that, that were unsafe to be turned loose on all. It could have destroyed tons and tons of people. So they had to put them back on the boat and not let them in, to make everybody in America safe, to keep people safe and healthy. That's the reason that people, but they do have an organization for undocumented humans that come into our country and disappear, because that's an issue. That's a problem in our country. It's like the girl and her 3 babies at that hotel over in Arkansas where Don and Candace was staying. They came up missing, right? They came up missing. And law enforcement, they're like, we don't know what to do about it. They're probably undocumented, meaning that, who are we going to be looking for? And it's just as, if you really think about it, it is just as dangerous for the undocumented people that come into our country. It's just as dangerous for them as it is for us. Because like that young girl and her 3 kids, they could have fell victim to some very evil people. And God only knows where they're at right now. oh, God only knows what happened to them, right? And nobody can look for them because nobody knows who they are. So it's just as bad on them as it is on anyone else, and that's sad. That's really sad. And even that organization, um, even that organization that looks for undocumented, people, said that they can't even look for them unless their family, unless some family reaches out, and or friends who knew them reaches out and says, "Hey, my girlfriend and her children are missing. If we don't know what happened to her, could you help us find her?" Um, or um, some family from over wherever they come from, reaches out to the organization over here and says, "Hey, you know, my daughter or my sister and her kids, they, staying at such and such a place last I heard, and they're missing now, and I ain't heard from them in a while," you know, and nobody can help. And they say a lot of times the family's afraid because they're undocumented and the family knows they ain't heard from them in a while. They're still afraid to report it because they're illegally here, right? They're illegally here. So they're scared to have them look for. So they end up getting no help. It's a horrible thing, a very horrible thing. Summer is not undocumented. Um, Summer has a birth certificate. Summer was born at a hospital. Trust me, law enforcement and the court system, child protective services, they have Summer's birth certificate. They have her social security card. They have all of it. Trust me, they went right where the boys' birth certificates and social security cards were in Hopkins County. That's where Summers would be. And not only that, but Candace said she went and enrolled Summer into school at the end of the school year. She went and enrolled her in the school already. So she would have had to have had proof. She would have had to give the school, and I'm sure Child Protective Services went to the school and checked if Candace really did enroll her, and if they had, a copy of the birth certificate, social security card, all the stuff you need, shop record, everything to enroll your child. So they got copies of all of that. If Summer was undocumented, then there would have been no reason for Candace and Don and them to act like, it would have been no reason for them to have to act like she got abducted. If she was undocumented, prove that they ever had her. They would have said, prove we ever had a kid named Summer, right? Prove it. We ain't never had a little girl. I don't know what you're talking about. Because very few people even knew Summer existed. So Summer definitely, was documented because, they had to go through everything they did. They had to gaslight the hell out of law enforcement like she was abducted, um, you know, to keep from going to prison. That's my opinion. I'll just keep it. Yeah, I heard that too, Molly. Why didn't you ask Grandis? Why didn't you ask Grandis about that? In the heat of the moment, when she thought you were looking all sexy and everything, and was trying to get real close. Why didn't you ask her that question, Molly? Huh? Answer us that. Do tell, Molly. I wonder if Grandis is afraid of taking showers like Ken. I thought Grandis was your main squeeze. I thought she was your main squeeze. I mean, if anybody should know she's afraid of taking showers, it would be you. Right, Molly? I mean, everybody knows Candace is because, they could smell her a mile away. They could smell her coming, a mile away. So I thought you and Grandis was an item. I thought you were a thing. I thought you guys were up close and personal. Right? Don't try to be throwing PG in the mix of this, Molly. PG, I don't think, I always heard like mother, like daughter. Don't be trying to throw me in the mix. I mean, I figure if the daughter don't, then the mother probably don't either. And that's enough to keep me away. Right? That's enough to keep me hiding. Oh, shoot. I just be messing with Molly. She knows it. I love Molly. I love Molly to death. That's my bestest friend right there. Molly calls me up and gives me shit. She does. She be giving PG crap. I have to give her a little crap back now and then and again. When I'm in the shower, I'm afraid to wash my hair because I might open my eyes and find Grandis standing there. Right? Oh my God. That would be like a mother freaking daytime wide awake nightmare. Right? I might have to seek professional help. I might have to seek some professional help if that ever happened. That would be beyond disturbing. Right? Anyway, I wanted to come in. I wanted to talk about 3 weeks because something. What happened? What happened 3 weeks? I mean, what put the most fear? What put the most fear in the Wells at the 3 week mark? Something happened at 3 weeks, you guys. Definitely happened at 3 weeks. Listen to this. Listen to this.
I already knew, and I already knew that she was put into a car and taken from here.
Yeah.
I knew that from day one. I knew that from the...
Of course you did. It was Grandis and Candace's vehicle that Tree Trimmer said you personally carried Summer out and put her into that morning. That took her away. Of course you knew she was put in a car and taken away. Right? Because she was taken in the very car that Grandis and Candace pulled out of there in. You also knew that Grandis was going to use her knee as an excuse to go into Kingsport to pick up Hunter to go to the fishing hole and do what they done, in my opinion, Don Wells. Come on. Of course you knew. You mother freakers were the ones plotting against this poor innocent little girl for weeks. But something had you on edge at the third week. 3 weeks before Summer went missing, something had you guys really scattering around. And what was it? What the hell got you guys scattering at that 3 week mark? 3 weeks before she went missing. Exactly. 3 weeks. Right? Let me take a look-see. Let me take a look-see here, Don Wells. Just give me a second. And I'll pinpoint it. Okay, we're in 2021, baby. 3 weeks before Summer came up missing. So, what would that have been? She come up missing on the 15th. 8th was 1 week before. The 1st was 2 weeks before. The 25th, right around the 25th, right there. The 25th, something that week right there of the 24th, 5th, 6th, that week right there had you guys scattering. What the hell could have happened? Because you cut her hair, you shaved her head in April. There was pictures of her in May with hair. Or not May, March. She had hair at the end of March because you went out, Candace went out eating with Allison's mother. So she went out with Allison's mother eating with all the kids, and Summer had a lot of hair at the table. So, and that was the end. That was the end of March. So you cut Summer's hair off sometime in April there and completely bald, shaved her down to the scalp, which was so unnecessary unless there had to be a reason. There had to be a reason to take it down to the scalp like that. So and I still ain't figured out what the hell that was for. I think something was already wrong with her. I think something was already wrong. And then her hair started to grow back. Must have been something. Somebody must have gotten a little angry, maybe a little upset, and that was up on the hill, knew what was going on, maybe threatened to report it, and you guys felt you had to shave all of her hair off in order to not get in any trouble for sedation, for the sedation that was going on. That makes perfect sense. But the 3 week mark, something happened that had you scattering. And the 3 week mark would have been the end of the school year, when that would have been about the time that the teacher saw Candace attack Summer. And about 3 different teachers reported it. There was like 3 or 4 teachers out there that witnessed the abuse that Candace put on Summer. And they all started calling in to Child Protective Services and demanding that this abuse gets looked into. That would have been right about that time. And also, right about that time is when this picture here was taken This is 18 days. 18 days before Summer went missing. So this would have been about the 3-week mark as well. And then,
she'd been at her daughter's in Virginia since, I'm trying to think, like August the 28th, I think it was when she actually moved in. And she cleaned up for a while. And then now I think she's back using, she's back with a boy that she had went to school with and stuff. Actually, they moved.
some guy.
She actually moved.
Ain't she with some
moved
guy
today.
that owns? Ain't she with some guy that owns some kind of business right now?
No, she left Scott back, I don't know, in August, I think it was.
Oh, okay.
Scott Hamilton. And she's with Kenny something now, from Homemaker, Virginia, I think.
Right.
He texted me earlier and said that her and Kenny had actually got them a place in Castlewood, Virginia, I think.
Right. Well, the last time
But see-
I talked to her, I asked her if she was over in Virginia. She told me no. She was in Kingsport, living with
Well-
these people that she's always been living with.
Yeah.
I told her that you said she was in Virginia, and she said no.
Yeah.
And she wasn't. She was not in Virginia. She was in Tennessee because remember Marlena said that that it was that Fred was having Laura show up at the junkyard to make sure that her and her brothers and them were there, and that's when they moved out. They moved again. Laura was not in Virginia. She's right there in Kingsport, Tennessee, with someone. I'm not sure who, but she's definitely in Kingsport, Tennessee.
She tried to tell people that she's still in Tennessee because she's got that warrant for out on her
Right,
for violation of probation.
right. Well,
And all it is is a technical violation.
Right.
I tried to get that took care of before I got out of jail and stuff, you know.
right,
And she won't do it. And it's just a 30-day in jail is all it is.
right.
Like I told her, I said, if you take and go in clean and turn yourself in, only thing they're going to give you is 30 days. She's just on 11 months, 29-day probation. Misdemeanor probation is all she's got anyway.
Right. Well, she said that they told her that if she ever comes back, that they're going to give her some other time that they were going to give her previous, and that's what she's afraid of.
No.
That's what she
She
told
just
me.
telling people. She just avoiding turning herself in, telling people things.
But, you know, I can understand where she's coming from. 30 days of your freedom feels like 20 years when you're there.
And the only thing that's really bad in jail is they don't feed you enough.
It's too bad. Too bad somebody can't go to jail for other people. You could go in and try it out. See what it's like. Right?
Yeah. She's got like 10 different personalities, really.
Who, Laura?
Yeah.
She freaked out on the boy.
What don't make sense is about a month before Summer,
Now, listen to what Fred says.
it wasn't even a month, I don't think. It might have been 3 weeks or something.
See that? He said a month before. It wasn't even a month. He said it was about 3 weeks before Summer went missing. Listen to what he says. 3 weeks before Summer went missing.
before Summer disappeared or whatever's happened to her, that Damien was swimming in a pool, was in the pool up on 110 with Summer. When I pull up, Damien's sitting in the pool, down in the pool, with his arms up on the side of the pool. It ain't a kitty pool. It's probably 18 inches deep or something other,
Right.
And Summer in the pool with him. And when I pull up, Candace come out of the house. They was outside by themselves. The boys never did even come out.
Oh. Did you hear that? 3 weeks before Summer came up missing, supposedly, allegedly, according to Fred, Jody Sue's son was in the swimming pool with Summer, right? In the swimming pool with Summer. In this swimming pool with Summer. So this is the swimming pool that Jody Sue's son supposedly was in outside with Summer. 3 weeks before, just 3 weeks before Summer went missing. You heard what he said. Now, Don Wells, about 3 weeks before Summer went missing, she's dancing around a for-sale barrel, right? She's dancing around a for-sale barrel on this 3-week mark. She's being packed out of the house and taken somewhere on the 3-week mark. Jody Sue's son allegedly is in a pool with Summer on the 3-week mark. Right? And then, just saying.
Reported, and they were filing their own report themselves.
Good.
And that was the end of his custody or any chance of getting his kids back.
Had you reported it?
Well, yeah. I mean, I had to call all of the agencies and let them know because it's already with CPS, and they knew, and I had to do what they asked me to do.
Yeah.
I didn't want to be non-compliant in something that I had no control of.
Yeah. So let's talk about number one, the day Summer disappeared, June 15th, 2021. Where were you?
How did it work?
All day?
All day.
Where did you work around here?
At that time, I was working for a greenhouse, flower shop. We had just opened our second location, which was at the end of Memorial Boulevard.
Do you remember what time you start work in the morning that day?
I believe it was around 8.
8 a.m.?
Mm-hmm.
And you finished?
6.
When did you first hear about Summer's disappearance?
After I got home from work, I had Mrs. Julie checking on her. It was something we did every day. And she was telling me that a little girl on Ben Hill Road had went missing. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I didn't even know there was a little girl on Ben Hill Road,
Did you know anything about the Wells before that?
No.
You didn't even know them either?
No, I knew Karen Goad owned that property,
Okay.
and I didn't even know she had passed away. I just thought Karen Goad's property, she still lives there. I didn't know anything about Don Wells, Candace.
Initial instinctive reactions.
Yeah.
What was that?
I asked Julie, I said, oh my God, what has Fred done?
That was your first reaction?
That was my first reaction. She said, I don't know what to think.
You guys close? Were you close?
We were close then.
Did you get a sense of how she was thinking?
She was concerned and curious as much as I was, because the only reference we had at that point, I take that back, I did know about Summer Wells.
You did? How?
Because 3 weeks before Summer went missing, I didn't know her name. I just knew a little girl.
Now, she said 3 weeks. 3 weeks before she went missing.
Memorial Boulevard.
Do you remember what time you start work in the morning that day?
I believe it was around 8.
8 a.m.?
Mm-hmm.
And you finished?
6.
When did you first hear about Summer's disappearance?
After I got home from work, I had Mrs. Julie checking on her. It was something we did every day. And she was telling me that a little girl on Ben Hill Road had went missing. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I didn't even know there was a little girl on Ben Hill Road, you know?
Did you know anything about the Wells before that?
No.
You didn't even know them either?
No, I knew Karen Goad owned that property,
Okay.
and I didn't even know she had passed away. I just thought Karen Goad's property, she still lives there. I didn't know anything about Dawn Wells, Candace.
Initial instinctive reactions.
Yeah,
What was that?
I asked Julie, I said, oh my God, what has Fred done?
That was your first reaction?
That was my first reaction. She said, I don't know what to think.
You guys close? Were you close?
We were close then.
Did you get a sense of how she was thinking?
She was concerned and curious as much as I was, because the only reference we had at that point, I take that back, I did know about Summer Wells.
You did? How?
Because 3 weeks before Summer went missing, I didn't know her name. I just knew a little girl. Julie had went to the store for Mom. Fred and Laura had rode with her, and coming back in the holler, Fred made her stop at the bottom of the hill below Dawn's driveway because a little girl's bike was laying there. And he made Julie stop and get that bike. I asked Julie, I said, why in the world would he, why would he want a little girl's bicycle? He doesn't have kids. He's not around kids. None of his nieces and nephews are small children. Why would he need a little girl's bicycle?
Yeah.
She said, I don't know. She said, they were coming in the holler, and Fred told her to stop and back up. And she said, why? He said, I'm going to get that bike, that little girl's bike. And she said, Fred, you don't need a little bicycle. Because I guess in her mind, to me, she told me in her mind, she was thinking he was just looking at something to scrap metal.
Yeah.
She said he kind of got ill with her and told her to back the fucking van up, and she said, I didn't know what to do, so I just backed up. And said he got out, he got the bike, he put it in the van, got back in, and she said, Fred, what in the world are you going to do with the little girl's bike? And his response to her was, Dawn will know what it fucking means.
Don will know what it fucking means. Don will know what it fucking means. So the bike was placed there for a reason. The bike was placed down there for a reason. If Don will know what it fucking means, it was placed there for a reason. Right? Because why would Summer's bike be all... Summer wasn't ever down at the bottom of the hill by herself. She wasn't ever down there all by herself. Her stuff would have been up on the hill, not down in the road where you can pick it up and take it. It wouldn't have been down there. Now, the boys went down there all the time. If it was one of the boys' bikes, then I would say, yeah, okay. They're down there all the time. I could see them leaving one of their bikes laying down there, or even a dirt bike down there. But not Summer's bike. Summer's bike was placed down there for a reason. 3 weeks before she went missing. Now, let's go back to 3 weeks before she went missing. 3 weeks before she went missing, she's dancing around a for sale barrel. They're leaving with her, as Dudley said, they're taking her somewhere, not without the boys. Don and Candace taking her somewhere. He said that she looked like, she was unconscious. She was passed out. Don was carrying her, face down, and they were leaving with her. And the boys were saying, where are you taking Sissy? Where are you taking Sissy? And Don and Candace wasn't answering. They didn't answer. They just got in a vehicle and left with Summer, and went somewhere. Also, Fred says that 3 weeks before Summer goes missing, she's in a pool. Nobody outside except her and this 17-year-old, 18-year-old boy, Jody Sue's son, I wasn't sure how old he was, but they're both out in the pool. Obviously, Fred, and that's what makes me feel that Fred knew what was going on up there. Because, Fred basically insinuated, that it was unnatural what was going on in that pool. And I mean, that's what it was like, hint. That's what he was hinting at. This guy was in that pool for a unnatural reason. And no one else was out there because it was for an unnatural reason. And Fred said, the boys didn't ever come out and Candace was in the house, until she saw Fred there. So what was going on? And at this 3-week mark, why were they scavenging around? What was they so afraid of that they would have to start sitting up. I think they wanted Fred to take that bike off as if somebody had taken. I think that was going to be part of the plan at first, that Summer's bike got stolen along with Summer. I think their plan was she was riding her bike at the bottom of the driveway and the bike and all was gone. I think they was going to have Fred, junk that bike early and then try to say, that not just Summer's gone, but the bike's gone too. At the time, at the peak time that she disappeared. But because Don thought of a better plan of firing his coworker and blaming it on his coworker, they left the bicycle out of it. That's my opinion. Because Fred said, Donna know what the F it means. I'm going to put the bike down there, Fred. You grab it. And we're going to say, that it disappeared along with Summer. But it'll already be trashed, right? It'll already be trashed. That's my opinion. Just saying, right? That's true. That's true, Chillbilly. That's true. I agree. These were, Fred and Andy. Don knew Fred and Andy very well. He knew Marlena Crawford, her brother, and Chad Arnold very well. This is a group of people who hung together and did some severe damage on some illegal substances, right? I mean, these people were engulfed in that stuff. And they had a very tight bond with one another and keeping secrets and one another, safe from law enforcement as criminals do. And yeah, I believe they would bond together to help each other in in more sinister ways as well. Absolutely. He took the bicycle. He took the bicycle. His sister said he took the bicycle. Right? Now I don't know. I think that Jody Sue's son was supposed to be in the pool before the bicycle got took. Because he said 3 weeks to a month before Summer went missing. So I think the bicycle got took. In my opinion, Don and Candace had Summer dancing around that for sale barrel for a reason. Because you could hear Don talking to somebody on a phone in the background. You could hear Don Wells telling Summer to twirl. I believe he had somebody on the phone. Maybe a client. I don't know. I don't know who was on the phone, but you can hear him. He also comes out of the house the same exact day, carrying Summer, because he was seen by Dudley. Dudley was having issues with his vehicle, and he was delayed. He was going to leave the Wells premises when they first got there, but because of his vehicle acting up, he was working on it a little bit, trying to ensure it's going to get him home. And he was out there delayed while, this for sale barrel thing's going on, and Don, whatever's going on after that in the house, and up to Don's carrying the child out, right? And by that time, Dudley's in his vehicle, sitting there, getting ready to leave himself, when Don and Candace, he hears the boys saying, "Where you taking Sissy? Where you taking Sissy?" And they won't answer. And he's like, "Yeah, where are you taking her asleep? I would think you'd be taking the boys who are awake and leaving that little girl that's asleep here with Grandis to watch. If you guys are going somewhere, why are you taking a sleeping kid? Instead of the ones that are awake." That's what, that's what was weighing on his mind. And I guess that would weigh on my mind too. If I seen somebody coming out of a house, they're having a grandmother watch all the kids that are awake, and they're coming out and taking a child that's, asleep somewhere with them, I would wonder what the hell, because that seems backward. Usually grandma watches the kids that are asleep, and the kids that are awake, you throw in the vehicle and take with you, so grandma doesn't have to, put up with them, right? You don't take the one sleeping because you want to let it sleep. So that didn't make no sense. I could see where Dudley must be pretty intelligent, because that's what was bugging him. That's what he was pondering on. So, he obviously just didn't get as much illegal stuff as the rest of them guys up there did, right? Because he was a little smarter than they are. But, and that was all 3 weeks. 3 weeks they're taking her somewhere. 3 weeks they got somebody in the pool with her. 3 weeks, they're getting a tricycle taken away that I'm sure they was going to say she was on initially, and disappeared with, because it would have been crushed already somewhere, right? Yeah. That makes perfect sense. That makes absolutely perfect sense. I wouldn't doubt it. I wouldn't doubt it. I mean, I don't think Fred's stupid enough to take that bicycle, and have it crushed, because Candace has probably got pictures. She's probably got pictures that she'll show law enforcement. This is the bicycle. I would say if he was willing to take that bicycle off, he probably took it to a very, very excluded area and put it there. I mean, to be found later. Because there's no way he's going to, take it to a crusher where you got to show IDs and everything, and possibly, law enforcement checking into, the junkyards, because they know Fred scraps, so they're definitely going to be checking into what he scrapped if a whole, kid's bicycle disappeared. And I don't think he was going to take that kind of risk. So, he wasn't going to leave a paper trail. That's for sure. So I would say that somewhere out there, someplace, there is a little girl's bicycle somewhere if Fred didn't go back and retrieve it. If he didn't go back and retrieve it at some point, there's a little girl's bicycle sitting in the middle of freaking nowhere waiting to be found. Right? Yeah, and exactly, Italian Cookie. They got the text that said it's done. I'm thinking that 3-week mark is when Candace went to the school. I think that's when 3 teachers really turned her in good, and Child Protective Services was, on their way out, on their way up there, to evaluate everything in the situation. I think that's when a case got opened, around that time, and I truly believe that it might have been around that time. Candace did say they wouldn't have hurt her like that if I was there. They wouldn't have hurt her like that if I was there. And you heard Fred say Candace was in the house, that the boys were in the house, that the boys didn't even come out. Candace came out, but the boys did not come out. And he said Candace was not out there when he initially showed up. Right? Now, it sounds like the 3-week mark may have been initially when Summer got hurt. The 3-week mark seems to be when Child Protective Service opened a case when she initially got hurt. Initially, they needed to get rid of her to protect themselves. That's what it sounded like. It sounded like something went down at that 3-week. Too much 3-week. I mean, you got Fred taking a bicycle at 3 weeks. You got this guy up there in the pool with Summer. No Candace, nobody around. Fred Hill up there as well. Fred was out there as well. On the property. This is 3 weeks. Fred takes a bicycle of Summer's around the 3rd week. Could it have been a threat? Could it have been a threat to Donald? Fred says, Jody Sue's son was up there 3 weeks prior in the pool with Summer. But Candace did say they wouldn't have hurt her like that if I'd have been there. And Fred, you know, and the 3 week prior with the pool, you know, Fred was there at the time Jody Sue's son was there too. Now, something could have happened. And Fred could have took the bicycle, you know, telling Don to understand what it means. You know, things disappear, Don. Things can disappear if you want to run your mouth. Things can disappear, you know. Don't implicate, you know. You don't tell, you know. If you take her to a hospital, you know, you better not implicate my name. You know, I can make things disappear, Don. It could have been a warning to Don taking the bicycle, you know. It could have been a setup, you know. Like I said, they were going to say she was on it, and it's gone too. I'm not sure, but I am sure of one thing. All of this stuff has to do with Summer's disappearance. 3 weeks prior had a lot to do with Summer's disappearance, right? Will we ever get the answers to what, you know, what all of it meant? That 3 week mark, what it all meant? But there is a message in it. There's a message at that 3 week mark. You know, that 3 weeks is holding a secret. I don't know why 3 weeks. It just happens to be the 3 week mark. The 3 week mark when, you know, they had her dancing that for sale barrel. They took her somewhere. The 3 week mark is when they were, you know, Fred and supposedly Jody Sue's son was up there in a pool, outside in a pool with Summer. Fred tries to put himself outside the pool. I don't know if he was in it or not. I just know that Candace or nobody was out there with them. I do know Candace did make the statement that if she'd have been there, they wouldn't have hurt Summer like that. You know, to cause her to have to disappear. Taking the bicycle right around the same time that, you know, this pool disappeared. Now, let us remember the swimming pool disappeared, right? This swimming pool right here, gone. It's gone, right? Totally disappeared. No trace of the swimming pool anywhere. Nobody knows where the hell it went. I had an ideal. I don't know. I had an ideal where it might have went, because it was on the Wells property, right? And they seemed to be up there drinking lemonade, you know, hanging around the cool pool. Look, Andy and Fred hanging out in the cool pool up on the Wells property, you know, waiting for Donald to come out. You know, they got 3 glasses of lemonade. I don't see 4, I see 3. You know, who was 3? And here they are. Here they are. You know, they're waiting for a third party. 3 glasses of lemonade. Always 3 glasses. Who was they going to have join them? I don't know. But look, the pool went from, you know, up on the Wells property, down there to Fred's place, right? Everybody said, where'd the pool go? I was like, probably it went to Fred's place. He didn't have a bathtub. He didn't have no bathtub. I don't know where he would get water from. You know, he might have got some extra water hose and ran the water hose from Don's place all the way down the road to his place. He probably went around, you know, borrowing all the neighbors' water hoses so he could fill it up down at his place. And there's Andy. They probably made some lemonade out of the pool water before, you know, maybe after they got in. I don't know. Maybe before, maybe after they got in it. I don't know. But they made some good lemonade. They was waiting for a third person to show up. I don't know if that's Laura or Donald, you know, or Candace. I don't know who was showing up, but they got 3 glasses when they only should have had 2. I don't know. Absolutely. That pool disappeared. That's when pool disappeared before, you know, before Summer went missing. It disappeared. It disappeared real fast, like super fast. It disappeared super fast. It's like they got this brand new pool and in 3 weeks it was gone. When Summer went missing, this pool went missing. That was the problem. That was a problem because this pool did go missing too. The bicycle went missing 3 weeks before, but the pool seemed to go missing at the same time Summer did, which didn't make any sense. And nobody knows where it's at. You know, I just thought, you know, I'd check into it. And I found this picture of it being down at Fred's house with Fred hanging around inside of it and Andy packing more lemonade for somebody. So I don't know. This is what they do. This is what they do. And this is the reason it's hard to solve a case. It's hard to solve the case because one day it's up here and the next day it's gone. It's gone. Right? It's gone. It's hard to solve a case when everything, you know, it seems like Fred, man, I'm going to tell you, it's like Fred was a fucking gopher, right? It's like he was a gopher. Like, he'd be up here packing everything off. He'd be packing everything off like a pack rat. Packing it all off. I mean, if he was still down the road in Tennessee, Summer's bench would probably be missing. Right? Summer's bench would probably be in the scrapyard. Fred would be going down. Oh, hold on. Back it up. I want to get that bench. And he'd probably be down at his house sitting on it. He'd probably have it inside the trailer, seeing that he don't got nothing else in there. He'd have it in a trailer, sitting on it. Like, Donna know what the fuck it means, right? Donna know what it fucking means. I don't know. As far as I know, Don says he doesn't know what it means. He doesn't know what the fuck Fred's even talking about. That's what Don's saying. He's saying, oh, man, that guy's fucking weird. I mean, he was seeing shadow people and shit. He'd be like, you see him? You see him? See what? Right there. Right up yonder. Can't you see him? Damn, dude, are you blind? Right fucking there. I'm pointing at him. I'm staring at him. You can't see him? No, motherfucker, I can't see him. What the fuck you talking about, dude? You're making me paranoid and shit. Well, if you can't see him, that's your damn fault. I seen them. They got your bicycles, they got your motorcycles, they got your gas, they got your cars, they got everything. They got your swimming pool, they got your, they was going to take that bench, but they had to go on vacation in Indiana, but you know what? They might come back. Better cement that bitch way down in the ground because they might get it if they come back. Don't you see him, Ziggy? Don't you see him? Don't you see them shadow? Didn't you see that person back there behind that telephone pole peeking at us? Are you blind, girl? There's about 4 or 5 of them. They're hiding in different places. I've been seeing them all night. Ever since we came out the door. They've been following us. They're shadow people. Ziggy's like, what the hell you talking about, Fred? You're freaking me out. That's exactly what Donald said. I don't know why that dumb fuck couldn't see him. And it don't seem like you can see him either. I'm the only one that can see him. Well, Fred, if you're the only one that can see him, then they must be there for you. All right. If you're the only one seeing them, they gotta be there for you. I don't know. Sounds kind of elusive, as Don Wells would say. Right. What a freaking weirdo. I don't know. I mean, I've seen shadow people. I've seen shadow people before. Right? I've seen shadow people a lot. I've seen them standing against people's trees, up in their yard, right? It's called a silhouette. Right? It's a big mother freaking piece of board cut into a human form, painted completely black, and they push it up against a tree. So when you come by, it looks like somebody's standing there. I said, there's the shadow person. Right? Better not go in that yard. That big old piece of plywood might come to life and start chasing you. Jeez. Yeah, I have one on my panel. Right. I had a shadow person on the panel talking, telling a whole lot of the Wells business, right? I'm going to tell you, Shadow has some good stuff. You guys got to admit, Shadow had some really good information. You know, another person that's got some good information is Sherry. Sherry has some good information about the Wells. Sherry's just afraid to share it. She's scared. She's scared to tell what she truly knows about Don and Candace, right? She's afraid. But Sherry's got a pocket full of secrets too. Trust me. They ain't nobody. There's nobody that was on the inside with the Wells that hasn't got a pocket full of secrets. The problem is, you know, people, they're either afraid to share that pocket full of secrets, or they don't want to share that pocket full of secrets because, you know, they got their lips still glued to, you know, to the booty with hope that they can get back in there. You know, and stuff like that. You know. So you have either a coward or a turncoat. You know, you got a coward or turncoat that's for for suspects instead of victims. Holding a pocket full of secrets that they don't want to expose to help Summers' case. And, you know, that's sad. That's sad. It's sad that, you know, they're either afraid or they're still, you know, their lips are still, you know, glued to the number one suspect's behinds, that they don't want to, you know, they don't want to share the information. And it's stuff like that, you know, keeps Summers' case from being solved. I'm going to tell you, in this world today, you got too many shut mouths. You got too many freaking cowards. You got too many people, you know, wanting to buddy up and befriend evil human beings, because in truth, they're evil themselves, right? They're evil too. And they really don't care, you know, they really don't. A lot of people grow up, you know, in situations where, you know, they've always learned to, you know, keep your mouth shut. You know, it's like some kind of honor to evilness, right? Where everybody's doing evil, and you know, the number one, no matter what happens, what happens in Vegas stays in Vegas, right? That's the mentality level. You don't want, you know, you learn real quick to keep your mouth shut, like you didn't see nothing. What are you talking about? I wasn't even there, you know. Prove I was, because I wasn't. I don't even know these people. Whatever it takes, right? Whatever it takes to protect one another. And I'm going to tell you, these people, a lot of these people are very loyal. In the evil world, a lot of these people are very loyal, you know, to one another, as in not telling their business for the good. They're not loyal when it comes to, you know, telling other evil people the business. What I'm saying is, when you're in the evil world, you don't have to worry about law enforcement, because none of the evil people want to do good. What you got to worry about is one of them evil bastards getting with other evil bastards and trying to come back because you got something they think they can take, right? You got to worry about them turning on you, and they got to worry about you turning on them, right? And that's what the evil world consists of. And they turn on each other pretty damn good, let me tell you. That's why a whole lot of them are 6 foot down, right? Instead of still on the ground, walking. There's no loyalty on the inside of the evil world, except not speaking to law enforcement and not doing good, as in trying to get that evil world shut down so nobody's hurting nobody. That ain't going to happen. Because evil people don't do good. They only do evil. That's right. And everybody for theirself. When you hook up into an evil world like that, you trust nobody. And the only ass you better be worrying about is your own. The only ass that you better be concerned with protecting is your own. You know, if you actually make it out of wherever you're hanging, if you actually make it home, you make it into your bed, it's been a good day. You have accomplished everything that you set out to accomplish. It has been a damn good day. Because a lot of people don't make it home. Right? That's how it is. And that's how it is in the Wells case. A lot of people, ain't making it home, and a lot of people got unlived in their home, right? A lot of people got unlived in their home, like in the evil world. A lot of people, they don't even make it out of their house. They end up unalived. That happens too. I mean, take a look at Allison. Take a look at Leslie in their homes. Take a look at Dee Dee in her home, right? Right there in her home. Some of them, the one guy face down in the water. Wow, how the hell did he get there? Oh, that was natural causes. Everything's natural causes down there in, Rogersville, Tennessee. You end up with your face down in the water, natural causes. You end up thrown off a cliff, natural causes. Right? You end up in a coma. Got a knot on your head, end up in a coma and you die, natural causes. It was their time to go. Something bonked them on the head and they're out. Right? Now, last time I checked, there was no angels going around bonking people on the head because their time's up. Oh, Lord said your time's up. You get judged now. No, I don't think there's nothing natural about that. Especially when two different people got knocked on the head, went into comas, and died the exact same way. Whoa, what a hell of a coincidence. I've heard friends dying together. I've heard of friends, one friend passing away before the other, a week or two before the other. They say, it's like broken heart syndrome. People can't live without one another. Broken heart syndrome. It happens with, husbands and wives, boyfriend and girlfriends. It happens with really good, stuck together friends. But I don't think, in Leslie and Allison's case, I don't think that's what happened. I don't think Allison just woke up one morning and said, oh, you know what? I'm going to bonk myself on the head today, go into a coma and join Leslie because I just miss her that much. You know, I don't think that happened. You know, I mean, I wasn't there, but something just tells me that ain't what happened. You know, let me use my Freddie Flintstone stick and bop myself on the head. That's just super weird. I mean, even Fred wasn't whacking himself on the head. You know, he was dropping bowling balls on his toes. But he wasn't accidentally whacking himself on the head with the stick. That was weird. No, absolutely not, Karen. I do not believe Summer is alive anywhere because I seen her looking unalived on the milk jugs. You know, I tell you why I don't believe Summer's alive. Because Hunter said she was wet against the driver's side door, right? On a pillow. Remember that? Put a 1 in the chat if you remember me playing the video where Hunter said, oh, pillow. He was talking to Chris. He said, oh, yeah, she was sitting on that against the driver's side door because she's the only one wet from swimming that day. That's what he said. So that told us right there that she wasn't changed into those clothes. When they went to Walgreens, when they went to Sonic's, when they went to the store. Now, Ronnie Lawson said, what took you 4.5 hours to call law enforcement? Well, 4.5 hours put her back on put her back at the swimming hole. Put her back on the milk jugs, right? Put her back on the milk jugs. So, with that statement, we know they didn't see her at Walgreens. We know they didn't see her at Sonic's. Actually, I talked to somebody at those places. One wouldn't give up no information, but one of them said, we didn't see her. She wasn't on video. You know, they said I probably shouldn't be saying it, but she wasn't seen on video. But that ain't why I say she wasn't seen on video. I mean, that's some of the reason. But, you know, there was, like I said, you know, the other place wasn't talking about it. In the other place I called, the phone just rang, like they ain't going to ever fucking answer for you anyway. So, you know, but I got 1 out of 3 to say, hey, we didn't see her on no video. Law enforcement didn't see her. Moving around in the vehicle. So with that being said, I suspected that nobody saw her, and Ronnie confirmed it. Ronnie Lawson confirmed it for me when he said 4.5 hours, which put her back, you know, at the swimming hole and being on the milk jugs. So I said, damn, they suspect she's dead too, right? That she's unalive. And you know, so you take the pictures, you start examining yourself, and you see the bluing, and you see the fingernails, you know, turning the, you know, color that unalive people turn. And, you know, and you see that they're trying to keep her on cold milk to slow down the process, you know, that happens after you're deceased, right? So you're saying, And then you have the boys. They told Jody Sue, we thought she's on the swing. We thought she's outside. They told flute player, we thought she was out in the swing. We thought she was outside. This tells us that they did not ever see their sister after they took the groceries into the house and she was supposed to get out of the vehicle. That allowed us to know that she did not get out of that vehicle. That allowed us to know that Ronnie Lawson's right. She was unalived. And they took her somewhere and they hid her someplace. Right? So, it told the story. It basically told what happened. And it told us that no, Summer isn't with us any longer. She ain't out there somewhere alive. That's bullshit. And not only that, but I know the Lord's voice when I hear it. Now, I don't know, I know there's a lot of people that knows exactly what I'm talking about. There's a lot of people that probably don't. But for the ones that do know exactly what I'm saying, I was sitting at a red light. I would, come up on this red light and I was thinking about Summer. And I told the Lord, I was praying. I said, Lord, God, please just let Summer be found and brought home. Please. And I heard a voice as clear as day. She's already home. Yeah, that's what I heard. She's already home. I'm going to tell you something. It kind of scared me. It kind of intimidated me. I'm like, whoa, okay. I'm going to have to rephrase this, right? I'm going to have to rephrase this. I mean, God let you know she's already with him. Now what do you say? What do you say now? So I had to, rephrase things. Like, can you let us find, what's here, what's on earth, her body, the rest of her, I mean, I was having a hard time putting that in words, right? And I'm going to be honest with you. I'm still intimidated by what I heard. I'm going to tell you, you don't mess with the Lord. The Lord can make you feel lost for words. But I'm going to tell you another reason we know that Summer is no longer with us. Candace must be thinking about PG. Oh, I bet you're hiding in the bushes, baby. I bet you got yourself hiding in the bushes, Candace. I just busted you. Because every time I slip and say somebody's name that just out of the blue, you meant to say one person's name, but you said somebody else's. Every time I do that, you know that the person's thinking of me. Like, have you ever done that? And then the person will call you up and say, I've been thinking about you. Or yesterday I was thinking about you. And yesterday's when you said their name and didn't mean to. Have you put a one in the chat if you ever had that happen to you? Because it does to me. It does to me. And I know Candace is hiding in the bushes now because that's the only time that shit happens to me. Right? It's the only time it does is when that mother freaker is thinking about me. And I bet her ass ain't thinking good either. I bet she ain't be thinking no good. You need to think good things about PG, Candace, and quit thinking ugly shit. Because, see, I'm not the evil one. I'm not the evil one. If Summer was any of our daughter, if she would have been any of our daughters, she'd still be here, Candace. The reason she's disappeared is because she was your daughter. Okay? The reason she's gone is because she was your daughter. Just like the 2 children, that you had in Wisconsin. One of them can't even live a normal life anymore. The other one's messed up from being put through the system so much. Those were your children, Candace. If they were our children, they wouldn't have been messed up like that. If they were our children, they'd have had a normal life. They would have had beautiful parents, beautiful clothes, a beautiful home, beautiful everything, Candace. Because we would have loved them and cared about them and took care of them righteously the way you're supposed to, right? One child over in Arkansas, right, Candace, that was taken away. Well, that child would have been perfect if it had been ours. 4 children up on Ben Hill Road, taken away. One completely disappears. The other 3 disappear into children's services. You're the evil one. You're the evil one. So quit talking bad about everyone else. Because we're the righteous ones. We're the ones that are for the victim, which is Summer. Not you, Candace. Not Donald. Not Grandis. Summer. Summer and her 3 brothers are the victims. We're the ones being a voice for the voiceless. We're the ones out here trying to find this little girl. Why don't you help us out and tell us where she is? Why don't you help us out and tell the freaking truth tell the truth and shame the devil, Candace. Tell the truth and shame the devil. Tell where your little girl is so she can be found and her brothers can get closure. Why don't you do something right in your life instead of doing everything wrong? Why don't you tell what truly happened to Dee Dee? Why don't you confess? Why don't you come clean? I hear confession is good for the soul, Candace. I hear it sets you free. Because you're like a bird in a cage right now, having to walk around on eggs every day, worried if law enforcement's going to pull up and arrest you. Because Summer is somewhere to be found. Something of hers is somewhere to be found. Enough to put you in prison. So you walk on eggs. You wouldn't have to walk on eggs no more. If you just tell the truth, right? Just tell the truth. Oh, you're going to be the number one. Not the one to tell the truth, ain't you, Candace? You're going to be the number one that doesn't want to tell the truth. It would be easier for Don Wells to tell the truth than you, right, Candace? Because see, you were there. Don Wells wasn't. It'd be easier for him to come clean, easier for him to tell the truth, because he didn't really do nothing. He didn't really do nothing to go to prison for. Right? He didn't really do nothing to go to prison for. He didn't do nothing at the swimming hole. He wasn't there. He didn't go down to Fred's house, meet up with Chad Arnold, and go somewhere to cover it all up. That was you, Candace. Don was at work the whole time. So it would be very easy for him to tell the truth because pretty much he's going to get nothing He's going to get nothing because the charges that you could have threatened him with, he's already got off. He signed the kids over to avoid prosecution. So those charges are not going to hold on him. And you know, they can't bring those back. You could sit there and say, oh, he had all to do with it. He helped plan it. It was all him. He had me, pushed me, wanted me to do this stuff. And I did it. I did it for Donnie. They're going to say, Candace, we don't care if Don Wells sit around for 10 years planning it. You're the one that carried it out. You're the one that was there when it happened. You're the one that went and got with somebody to cover it up. You're the one going to prison. Right? Yeah, absolutely, because that's the way law enforcement works, Candace. It's the way it works. And they're going to say, you can't prove that Don was plotting against an innocent child to do anything to. You have no proof. You don't have no video footage of him planning it. Even if he did plan it, the person who carries it out is going to prison. That's just the way it is. The person that initially went out into the water and did the dirty deed is going to prison. And the one standing up there that had it done is going to prison because you're an accomplice to it all. Don was at work. He wasn't anywhere in the vicinity when it all went down. So actually, he could tell everything. He could get it all off his chest. He could set himself free because he's living like a bird in a cage too. He could set himself completely free and be free. He could actually be free. He could let Summer be found. He could let the boys get closure. And he could make things right with the Lord and be free. But you can't be that, Candace. You can't be that because you had all to do with everything. I don't care. Somebody could tell me all day long. They could tell me they're planning something and they want me to do it. They want me to be in on it. They want this and I don't give a fuck what they want. Want in one hand, shit in the other, and see which one's full. Okay? I don't care what they want. I'm not going to do it. I don't have to do it. I've got a choice not to do it. And no way in hell would I have done something as evil as I truly 150% believe you done, Candace. I wouldn't ever in my life do that. You know why, Candace? Because I have no right to be playing God on this earth. The Lord giveth, the Lord taketh away. Blessed be the Lord. Amen. You have no right playing God and destroying anyone's life on this earth. That's God's job. When God wants someone, it's his job to call them home, not anyone else's. Don wants to talk about the 10 Commandments all the time. He wants to talk about the Sabbath, about the Sabbath, about the Sabbath. Well, let's talk about thou shalt not lie. Let's talk about thou shalt not bear false witness against their neighbors, which Don Wells and Candace bared false witness on every fucking neighbor they had to keep the focus off themselves because they were guilty as fucking hell, right? Absolutely. That's my opinion. I will keep it. And let's talk about thou shalt not murder, right? Let's talk about that one. Because I truly believe that that little girl was no longer with us in the back seat of that vehicle. That's why the boys kept thinking she was outside, because they didn't ever see their little sister doing anything. They just assumed that they had good parents that would never do anything as evil as that to any of them. And they're probably shocked to have to think that somebody did. And they thought she was outside running around with grandma and mommy. They thought that, she was okay. Grandma's out there watching her while mommy's inside the house, gaslighting the hell up out of them. They had no idea that anyone could be so evil. Because they're children. They're children. And no matter what type of abuse, no matter what type of pain and punishment, misery and hell a child goes through, that child's mind is still innocent. That child's mind still wants to believe the best, even though they're living in the worst. That's a damn shame. A damn shame, Candace, that you and Donald, I don't know how you show your fucking faces. I don't know how you show your face. I don't know how you ever showed your faces in society. I don't know how people was able to look at them. That's just my opinion. I'll keep it. It is what it is. But Don Wells could tell. He could set himself free. And he could set the boys free too. He could actually do something righteous for once in his old ass life if he wanted to. Hopefully he wants to. But I think Fred Heal has a big pocket full of dark secrets that could also let us know where Summer's at. What happened to her. I think Fred Heal has enough information to give the boys closure and Summer the freedom to be buried in her own place where her brothers could see her, where they could talk with her, where they will know she's safe in the arms of God. And one day they'll be able to see her again. Right. But no, I don't think Summer's out there somewhere. I'm going to tell you, if Summer was well enough to send off to somebody else, Don and Candace wouldn't have sent her off. They'd have kept her. The reason they didn't keep her is because whatever was wrong with her would put them in prison. If they took her for medical care, they're going to go to jail. They don't want to go to jail. The only reason Don and Candace would get rid of Summer is to save their own asses. And if they need to save their own asses, then they can't give her to somebody else. They would have to destroy her, because giving her to somebody else, they could have just kept her, right? If she was well enough. I mean, if she was well and everything, they would have had no reason to try to destroy her. They wouldn't have no reason for her to have to disappear. I mean, all three of the boys were well, and they kept them. If Summer would have been well also, they'd have kept her. They wouldn't give her away. I mean, they done had her for 5 years. They ain't about to give a healthy kid away. Something happened where they were going to end up in jail if they didn't do something. They had a choice. Take her for medical care and go to prison, or destroy her and cover it up and try to keep from going to prison, right? They rather at least try to save their asses from going to jail, because taking her for medical care was a surety they was going to jail. No doubt in their mind they're going to jail if they did that. The other way was a gamble. And Don and Candace are willing to gamble. And the law let them gamble. And it looks like the laws let them get away with it up till now. Up till now. I think so, Stephanie. I don't know. I think so. I mean, if the other three, if they did the other three, yes. Absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, it's a sure bet. It's a sure bet. You don't do 3 and not the other one. I mean, if they had 4 kids, then yeah. Summer's name would have been on that list. Summer's name would have been on that list if she was still here. Her name would have been on that list. And I think that's why, you know, she disappeared. I think that's, you know, why her name wasn't on the list, because somebody went too far. Something happened, and they were too scared. They were too scared to get it fixed. Right? Because they knew Summer would tell. If they took her to a hospital, she was old enough to talk. And she would have told. And they would have went to prison. Hey, Mary, how you doing, sweetie? Good to see you, girl. We got Mary in the house. She said, I'm still here. But yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And you know, I think the only one that might truly be trying to ease their conscience, right? In my opinion, is Andy. I think Andy is the only one trying to ease his conscience. And we can't even get law enforcement to look into it. Maybe this new sheriff will. Maybe this new sheriff will. Right? Because we're definitely going to be talking to him. We're definitely going to tell him about Morrison Cemetery. We're definitely going to let him know. And he said you can talk to him personally. So we're definitely going to explain that one of the suspects, you know, suggested she's over there and was put in there before law enforcement was even called. And that is a brilliant idea. And that definitely explains why Don Wells had that shitty-eating grin on his face when he likes to tell people, oh, she won't ever be found. Like he committed the perfect crime. Because that was brilliant. Until Andy ran his mouth. I mean, I wouldn't have ever suspected it. And I don't think anybody else would have either. But I do think it needs to be looked into. And if this sheriff is serious about solving Summer's case, he'll have that done.
Have said this since the beginning to people that made a difference. That I've told people about having the dream that I've, in the open grave. It's been told. It's not a lie. And I have heard my whole life that the best time to get rid of somebody is when there's an open grave. The dude was buried on what day? The 18th? Okay, so 3 days after Summer went missing, they buried that dude. Do you think they dug the grave the day that Summer went missing? I'm saying it was dug between the day the dude died and the day Summer went missing, the 11th. Not if she went over there on the 15th when Candace left at some point in time off that fucking hill, took her over there. Maybe she went to Fred's and Fred helped her. If it was open on the 15th, all she would have had to do is go over there and dig down just a little bit more, put her in there, cover her back up. When they brought the vault in a few days before they buried the dude, the concrete vault would have been set on top of it, and nobody would have known no different. And we know who dug the graves. We know all that shit. So I don't think nobody would have paid any attention to if she was done in there the day of the 15th.
There you go. There you go. Good old Andy. Good old Andy, I think, was really looking to clear his conscience. I think he was straight looking to clear his conscience. Right? That's my opinion. I'll keep it, but I think that particular gravesite needs to be looked into because Don and Candace was putting flowers on it. Why would they put flowers on it? Why would they put flowers on Timothy Morrison's grave when they don't even know who Timothy was? And Andy's right. He passed away on the 11th. They would have dug that grave the night of the 14th, early morning of the 15th. They would have dug that out. Because they have to make sure that they're not invading on anyone else's territory. They have to make sure that there's no big rocks or boulders or anything down in there that, is going to have to be, that's going to be a struggle to get out and remove. They have to, there's a lot to it. And so they dig it early. They dig it up early. They put a tent over it early. And seeing that the man passed away on the 11th, the family, the funeral home would have probably thought that, they'd want to, bury him a little sooner. So they always get the grave ready just in case the family wants to, do it a day earlier. I mean, you could do it a day later. You can't do it a day earlier if everything ain't ready. He dies on the 11th, 12, 13, 14, 15. 4 days later, they're definitely going to have that grave already dug up, dug out, ready to go. 3 days later, on a Friday, Summer disappears on Tuesday, right? The 15th. Well, Wednesday would have been the 16th. Thursday would have been the 17th. Friday would have been the 18th. They had the funeral on a weekday. They didn't wait till Saturday or Sunday. They had it on a weekday. day. People bury their loved ones on Wednesdays. They bury their loved ones on Thursdays. Because people, people get off work. If your loved one dies, they automatically let you off work with pay. Most jobs let you off with pay. Matter of fact, they give you a couple of days off with pay. Because it's your loved one, right? Because it's your loved one. Somebody you cared about. So, of course, they're going to understand. And the weekend, you're usually off work anyway. So a lot of people, they'll bury somebody on Wednesday or Thursday. And that way they'll have, they'll be off work Wednesday the day before to get ready. They'll be off the next day for the funeral. And then they'll be off, the rest of the weekend to mourn and kind of get over things before they have to, are forced to thrust back into everyday life. That's what I tell people, like when you have a loved one that passes away, you're in shock, right? Usually you're in shock. No matter if it's a uncle, it don't have to be just your parents. And your parents or whatever, you're really in shock when it's close like that. But even if it's a grandparent or an uncle or an aunt or, or anything like that, your aunt, it's still somebody you knew, somebody you truly loved, somebody that you actually seen and talked to and so forth and so on. You're obligated to show up, right? Whether you want to or you don't, you're obligated to show up. The first, few days of finding out and building up to the funeral, you're kind of in shock. You got all kinds of people, family gathering together and support and stuff. And then the day of, the showings and the funeral and everything, you got all this support. After the person's laid to rest, everybody gathers at a restaurant or somebody's house and, whatever they decide to do, a lot of support. For a few days afterwards, a lot of support, family, seeking out family, because that's what they need. So they're all still, hanging out with each other, just trying to, use each other for support and stuff. But if you, when it's time to just get thrust back into real life, and a few weeks have passed, few months, there's no support around, and there's no shock holding you, up, no numbness. All the shock wears off, and you're sitting there, looking at a picture or something, or you walk through the house and find that little brochure the funeral home gave you. I hate those things. I come straight home with those and, put them in a picture album and shut it, right? Put it away. Because last thing I want is a few weeks later, go walking through the house and see that thing laying somewhere. Like, that's creepy as hell. I'm not going to lie. That's just fucking creepy. You see it laying there and the first thing hits your mind is, oh shit. You look around like the person's going to pop up, like their ghost is going to be there with it. And it's like, damn, and I don't know why, but you get the feeling that you want to go put it in the garbage instead of, you know, in a book. You know, it's creepy. I don't care what people say. You know, a lot of people won't tell you what I'm telling you because, you know, then they know it's true. They know it's true. Like some of you are probably laughing like right now. You're probably laughing your ass off like, oh, fuck, PG's right. I've done that shit. I went through the house and seen one of them things laying on a table or something and think, oh my gosh, looking around like we're, you know, expecting a person to pop up on you, you know, and they're dead, right? They're gone. It's just weird. But they hand them out like candy. Make sure you don't go home without one. That's kind of scary. And then a lot of people be trying to hand you the flowers and stuff, right? Like, are you kidding me? Do you know why they have those flowers there? You know why they're there? I mean, they're not, flowers ain't just there, you know, because we all love the person, right? I hope people know that. Then flowers ain't just there because you love the person and send flowers. Those flowers are there because the person's gone and they're there to, you know, to suck in the odor from, you know, to mask the smell and suck in the odor of death, right? And do I want to take that home with me? I don't think so. You know, I ain't taking that home. That can stay there. You know, I sent them there to stay there. I didn't send them there to take them home or to take somebody else's home so somebody can take mine home. I didn't send them there for that. I sent them there to stay there. You know, take those things and put them at the gravesite, right? Do something. Don't give them to me. But people do that too. You know, they're like, they're gathering them all up and stuff. And I'm like, whoa, that's scary. Just what I wanted, to walk through my house and see some flowers, you know, that belong to somebody else, ain't even here anymore. Then I'm going to keep the vase or keep whatever to remind me every damn day that the person I loved ain't with me no more. That's weird. You know, I'm one of them out of sight, out of mind people, right? Out of sight, out of mind. I come home, I don't want to see anything reminding me that I just lost somebody. That's just me. Oh no. When they embalm a person, it just makes sure that they're not going to be alive in the coffin. They used to bury too many people alive. So now they embalm just to make sure that they're not going to try to get up. That there won't be no scratches inside there. That's what it's for. I mean, if you wasn't gone, you will be when they're done. That's just to give your family, you know, more peace. Give your family more peace that, you know, they didn't put you down alive. Your family can say, oh, they got embalmed, so they definitely are, you know, they're definitely not with us anymore. That's what that's for. But they don't cover them in wax. their skin and everything is still deteriorating, and you know, and the and decaying away, and putting out, the gases and everything, from being unalive, which is getting all sucked up in those flowers that people take home and put on their tables. Nobody tells you this stuff, Nobody tells you about all of this. You know, people don't think about it. They don't, they don't think about all that. Yeah, I'm telling you because, somebody told me. Hell, I don't want to be the only one that knows shit like that, right? That stuff, man, you just don't want to keep to yourself. I don't want to walk around being the only one that knows about, the flowers sucking up the freaking stench of death, and people taking them home. In the Jewish religion, they do not embalm. You mean mummify them? No, that's Egyptian. The Egyptians mummify. The Jewish people, they clean down their loved ones, and preserve them, and then they wrap them. They wrap them in a cloth, and lay them to rest. A lot of Jewish people are buried above ground, some below. Most of them are buried in mausoleums, above ground, in caves, stuff like that. Yeah. And I heard that the funeral homes donate them flowers to nursing homes and hospitals, to nursing home and hospitals, to give to people who, don't have family, and that, like, people in the hospital that don't have nobody visit them and stuff, they get donated, and then they take them and give them to them, which I think is kind of, morbid, if you ask me. I mean, if I was in a hospital and man, I'm gonna be in trouble. I can't, I can't talk about this stuff. If I was in a hospital and they thought I didn't have no family, they, nobody comes seeing me, I do not want those flowers. Please, don't give me that. If they brought in flowers like that, I'd be freaking out. I would get well quick. I would get well real quick. Matter of fact, and if I didn't get well quick, they'd have to give me a new room. Yeah, right? They'd have to leave the flowers in that one and give me a new one. I don't want to stay in there with it. I don't want to stay in there once they take them out. Those things belong to somebody else, not me. I mean, it ain't like a birthday cake. I would assume, I would assume a birthday cake, somebody just didn't show up to the party. They canceled the cake. I wouldn't think somebody fell over and didn't need it, right? But now that I'm thinking about it, I probably wouldn't want a cake either, right? Just yeah, I ain't taking I ain't taking nothing like that home. Can't do it. Don't want it. No thanks. Green Eyes. I don't know who the Green Eyes is now, but I know the Green Eyes that was, back 4 years ago, back at the beginning of Summer's case. Green Eyes was Ziggy's old man, was Ziggy's first old guy. That's who Green Eyes was. That was Ziggy's old man. And Ziggy had him, and Ziggy was behind it. Ziggy had him calling and harassing a lot of people. She had him actually, harassing people for her. But that was her old man, the one that, she initially, said that she needed to get away from. And then all of a sudden he was a superhero when he was gone, when he was unalive, he became a superhero. We all needed to give Ziggy a big hug and a pity party, because that abuser that she so needed desperately for her and her daughter to get away from, was passed away. Make that make sense. Make it make sense. I mean, if I had a big abuser, if I had this big abuser that I needed everyone to help me escape away from, and something happened like that, I don't think it would be a pity party. I think it would be a party that, that you don't have to ever worry about any abuse coming from that person again. I think it would be like the 4th of July, but for some reason it wasn't. But that's exactly who Green Eyes was. And he wanted to harass me. He wanted to threaten me. I was one of the top on, I was top of his list. And I decided I wanted to, I wanted to talk to him too. I wanted to talk to him at 4 and 5 o'clock in the morning. I wanted to, I wanted to talk to him the way he liked to talk to PG. And actually, to be honest with you, he found it funny. He found it funny. He expected me to be afraid of him. He was very shocked when I wasn't. Very shocked. To say the least. Yeah, he did. That's true. He called me all hours of the day and night. And I started calling him. And I'm not going to lie. I played him every mother freaking fart jingle I could find. Like, I was playing him Christmas fart jingles, Valentine's Day fart jingles, any fart jingles that YouTube had to offer. That dude heard them all. He heard them all, right? 3 in the morning, 4 in the morning, 6 in the morning. Yeah, he heard them all. Yeah, I sure did. He even heard the fart jingle of my baloney has a first name, second name, and BOLOGNA. He sure the fuck did. I'm like, shit, gonna take more than Green Eyes to scare PG. Right? Anyway, PG's gonna go and let you guys rest the way that they're resting right there. Look at that. Fred disappeared. He did the Houdini on us. Fred did the Houdini real quick. 1 minute Freddy's there, the next minute Freddy ain't. But there they are. I'm going to let you guys go and relax. Just like they are right there. Get up tomorrow, have a sunny day, enjoy some lemonade, right? If it's hot where you're at, maybe a dip in the pool. Yeah. Have a good time. Everybody wants to have a good time. So we're going to all get off here. We're going to go to bed. We're going to get some rest. We're going to get up tomorrow, do a happy dance, right? We're going to turn right the way it leads to heaven. We're going to turn right. And we're going to have a good day. We're going to have that good day every day. Because you know what? God's with us. God's with us. Jesus is always there watching over us. So we're going to have good days every day. And we're going to continue to send them prayers up for Summer, Moon, Utah, Wells. We're going to continue to keep praying for this little girl. Because you know what? God continues to pull this case to the light. God continues to let the truth be told for this little girl. It may be a little bit at a time. It, might be a little here, a little there. But you know what? It adds up. It adds up. And right now, we know everything that happened, right down to Chad Arnold and Candace leaving out of Ben Hill Road onto Beach Creek and going somewhere. We got it down to a science. And that ain't us. That's God. That's God giving us little by little the answers we need to solve this case. And I'm going to tell you something. I believe God's going to solve it. That's my belief. That's what I feel. I believe he's really going to solve Summer's case. So we got to keep those prayers going up so that last part will be pulled to the light. Summer can be found. Her brothers can get closure along with us. Summer can get peace and justice. In the name of Jesus Christ. Amen. So keep those prayers going up for this little girl, because this little girl depends on our prayers. She depends on your prayer going up tonight. Don't let her down. Don't let her down. Too many people did that. Don't let us be one of them. Send those prayers up, because she really counts on them to solve her case. Keep those prayers going up for Michael Bond, Sebastian Rogers, Jack and Lily, Emmanuel, little Genesis. And keep them going up for Nancy too. There's been a break in Nancy's case. I heard that there was a woman that got life flighted. There's supposed to be a Jane Doe who got life flighted to a hospital. Nobody knows who she is. They think she may be Nancy. I don't know. This is just what I'm hearing. Just what I'm hearing. Put a 1 in the chat if you've heard this. But they're all back out there. They're all back outside of her house. As of last night, JLR's outside of the house with a lot of other people. And I guess they're doing some more searching, doing some more stuff right there in the area. There was a big party going on down the road last night. But there's some movement. There's more movement in Nancy's case right now. So keep the prayers going up for her too, because her daughter really needs your prayers. Her daughter can use all the prayers she can get as well. Let's pray for these families. Let's pray for the ones who truly love and care about these missing people. Let's pray that the Lord wraps his arms around them too and gives them some kind of peace and comfort in all of this. Amen. All right. And pray for one another, you guys. Last night, I was really feeling someone needing prayer. It's like they had a deep hurt. Something I can't explain, but it was really bad. Keep the prayers going up for one another. In the name of Jesus. Amen. Good night, you guys. God bless. Much love.